What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Getaway Day. As always, I am Mason, he is Gautam, and we're going to get right into it. Uh, but I guess before we do, if you enjoy our podcast, make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting app, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, anywhere you listen to podcasts, you can find us there. Make sure to subscribe there on YouTube to make sure you don't miss any future episodes. Also, make sure to let us know your thoughts on it through YouTube comments, leaving a review on Apple Podcasts, or reaching out to us on Facebook and Twitter at Getaway Day Pod, or by joining our Discord server, which is linked in the Twitch VOD chat, and I'll make sure to get that in the YouTube video uh, description as well. How are you doing today, Gowie?
I am doing great. Very excited to talk AL Central. What a division! Like honestly, this division is going to be crazy. Actually, no one's ever said that before, but
No.
we're gonna still dive into all these teams and tell you what you really need to know.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. Um, but before we do that, we did not actually update you guys on the lockout last week. Um, so that was our bad. We ran out of time and honestly just kind of forgot about it since it was at the end. So we put it back at the beginning. We'll get through it and then we'll get to some fun stuff. I think I saw a quote today and I think it perfectly sums up the lockout. This is from Hall of Famer, Cubs legend, Fergie Jenkins. This lockout needs to end soon. I don't have room in my garage for an 8-foot statue of myself. That's a pretty telling pretty telling statement on how the things are going over in the negotiations right now, isn't it, Guy?
Yeah, and for a little context, if you don't know, they're unveiling a Fergie Jenkins statue at Wrigley Field um, this coming season. So listen to the Hall of Famer, get this lockout lifted, and let's play some ball.
Yeah. So if you didn't already know, this week starting Monday the 21st, the MLB and the MLBPA have been meeting every single day. You heard me right. Every single day, these two groups have been sitting in a room together trying to negotiate this deal. It's the first time we've seen them meet 2 days in a row, and today was the first time we've seen them meet 3 days in a row, and they're scheduled to meet back again tomorrow. So they've been going back and forth with some proposals. Neither side has made any big moves. I think we've seen maybe a total of $10 million movement from both sides on pre-arb bonus pool. We've seen a couple $1,000 movement on the minimum salary from the owners, and then we've seen a withdrawal of a proposal for any in-season option limits for fringe guys, minor league players. So that's pretty much all we've seen. It's been 3 days, and then today an MLB spokesperson came out and made a statement, and in that statement they said, "quote A deadline is a deadline. Missed games are missed games. Salary will not be paid for those games." Um, so little context there. Basically, if there's no deal by Monday, February 28th, we're missing opening day, and it will not be made up. Every day's slip is another game canceled. So that's kind of the state of where we're at right now. Is what are your thoughts on that, Gowie?
Yeah, so like you mentioned, they're just making both sides are making just very small, incremental kind of concessions, you could call it, but really most of the topics that they're fighting over are just kind of money issues, and they're really not the biggest issue, which is also money related, but it's the CBT, and that's ultimately the most important part of this. And there's been no change on that topic from the initial proposal that the players made way back when, and then whatever the owner's first proposal is, they've stuck with their initial uh, offers, and they have not moved off that. Do you want to give the information about those CBT uh, offers?
Yeah, so back in, well, I'm trying to find the roughly when these proposals were made because they are quite old. Um, Back in early February, looks like February 11th was the most recent league proposal for the CBT. And they've proposed increasing the competitive balance tax threshold from what I believe is
210 in
210
2021.
today. They want to increase it to 214 for next year and the 2 years after that. Or no, sorry, next year and the year after that. And then increase it by two for year three, two for year four, and then four more for year five. So we'll basically peak at $222 million in 2026 with the current owner's proposal. Uh, Along with that, they've increased the tax rates if you break each threshold, and I believe it's every $20 million passed. The magic 214 there is the next tax threshold. So the first one they're proposing it to be at 50%, the second one at 75, and the third at 100. Basically taking what's already a soft cap and making it a still a soft cap, but a much more dense soft cap.
Yeah, it's getting pretty hard.
Yeah. The players, on the other hand, have proposed CBT thresholds of $245 million, followed by 252, 259, 266, and 273, basically growing by $7 million each year as league revenues increase every year, and basically trying to get teams to spend more on players as they make more money. They're also trying to keep the status quo thresholds of 20%, 32.5%, and 62.5%. Um, so they're not even remotely close on either of those two issues. Players already view the tax rates as creating a soft cap, and they're not wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. Like only 6 teams, I believe, in the history of the competitive balance tax, which started in 2002, have ever exceeded the limit. So, I mean, that is a lot of seasons where teams were definitely sticking below that, and creating even harsher penalties is going to make that even worse. And
Yeah,
to go a little bit more in depth in what that specific offer that the owners are offering here, they're basically saying that there's no um, there's no real change in the amount that the team should be able to spend, despite way higher revenues that the league is bringing in. Next year alone, there's going to be like a 30% bump just from national TV deal money, and essentially no change in the competitive balance tax with this proposal, plus harsher penalties for exceeding those thresholds.
yeah. Yeah, so if you're looking for a little bit more information on what the competitive balance tax really means, Jeff Passan put out like a 6 or 7 tweet thread here just maybe an hour or two ago. That is an hour ago, yeah. That this might be a 30 tweet thread. Oh no, he just tweeted the number 30 at the bottom of one confusingly. All right. But yeah, so he explained it pretty well as far as what MLB's offering, what the players are asking for, what it means, and how it affects things. So go check out Jeff Passan's Twitter there from, I guess if you don't listen to this today, from February 23rd at 7:30 p.m. So
Yeah. So, and if you've been following along day by day as we get the updates at the end of the meetings and everything, I think when you hear that one side has moved on this competitive balance tax, that's going to be a sign, that I think Jeff might have mentioned that like a day or two ago, that
yep,
that means we're close to. getting an agreement because the rest of the issues feel like they're close enough that they can be sorted out. They're really just a matter of the number.
Yeah, at this point, they're structuring everything the same. They're taking out proposals that have nothing to do with anything that's been talked about before. They're just getting it set up to where it's like, okay, what's the number in the middle? Let's go a little bit to our side and then accept it. The CBT is the one that, as soon as that starts having as soon as it gets talked about, it means that we've pretty much sorted out everything else to the point where someone's willing to make a big concession. Um, but then there's still going to be a lot of discourse around that CBT. And honestly, I could see that even if we get to that tomorrow and talk about it for the next 5 days, there's still a realistic chance that we miss opening day. So take it with a grain of salt. But when you do hear CBT coming out of Evan Drellich, Jesse Rogers, Jeff Passan, Ken Rosenthal, any of their mouths, you know we're getting close. We're just not quite there yet. So
Yeah, but this week is obviously huge. We're gonna get by the time we talk to you next week, we will know if they've met that deadline on Monday or not. And this is crunch time. This is where we find what the two sides are really made of and whether they're willing to just extend this lockout for the owner side or give in if you're the player side, I guess.
yeah, and one thing that you and I were talking about here a little while ago, the players do still have one big piece of leverage here, and that is the expanded playoffs. They've agreed to it in principle, but there's nothing written down on paper. The players can come out and just straight up say, if we don't get 162 games worth of pay, you do not get expanded playoffs. And they could do that. And that is hundreds of millions of dollars for the owners each year of the C or of the C or CBA, CBT, CBA, CBA. There we go.
Lots of acronyms flying.
Oh my goodness, it's
But
intense.
and then with today's MLB announcement confirming that deadline of February 28th for the last day to get regular opening day on time. If you put those two sides of it together, then you kind of come to the conclusion that if by Monday they don't have like the agreement, then expanded playoffs seem unlikely to be happening.
Yeah. Yep. So we'll see. So we may keep the same playoff format. We may get expanded playoffs. We may get opening day on time. We may not. And we've only
We
been
really
talking
know nothing. We
and
pretend like we know stuff,
we've
but
only
we
been
know
talking
nothing
about this
here.
for what? Almost 3 months?
Sadly, yes.
It's insane. And the only people that are really losing are the fans. Like, I mean, there's definitely going to be a winning
Everyone's
and
losing.
losing. Yeah,
Everyone's losing.
but there's going to be a winning and losing side monetarily, but the fans are ultimately who's losing out the most because it kind of feels like nobody cares about us and we're the reason that they have their money. So, oh well. But anyway, unless you have any closing comments about that, let's say we get to the AL Central.
Uh yeah, let's do it.
All right. So last week we talked about the National League Central. Kind of went through each team, tried to talk about some of their big acquisitions, their big losses, some prospects and stuff. And we're going to do a pretty similar thing here. Um, and then we'll try and power rank these teams after we discuss and see who we think is claiming the AL Central crown. I have a hunch that I know that answer already. Um, but we'll find out. So I guess we'll start with the elephant in the room. We just talked about Chicago at length, the White Sox at length 2 weeks ago with Ashley Sanders. I don't think that we're going to break any new ground here. Do we want to talk about them or skip the White Sox altogether?
Yeah, I think we can we can refer you back to that episode from 2 weeks ago. It was a good one, we think, and we really covered the White Sox in depth. So we can skip ahead, I
Yeah.
think.
So definitely go check out that episode from February 9th, I believe, with Ashley Sanders. Um, it was a great conversation. If you haven't checked out her Twitch stream or her YouTube channel or TikTok, go do that. She's awesome. Very, very knowledgeable about baseball. But let's go ahead and skip to the Cleveland Guardians. We're going to start over in Cleveland. New name, new season. What's happening with Cleveland? What have they done? Who've they picked up?
Absolutely no one, which is a very typical Cleveland offseason, except for like the one random, guy they bring in, or like the couple of random outfielders that never really pan out. But they've got really no major move to speak of. I mean, they lost a couple players in Roberto Perez. Harold Ramirez got traded after DFA'd. JC Mejia also DFA'd and traded. So, I mean, all they've got basically the same guys that they had last year, barring any other moves coming out of the lockout. Like this is kind of the team that they're going to be rolling out this season.
Yeah. And so this team that they're rolling out, not exactly a big power team. It's got a lot of speed. Got a lot of speed.
Yeah, it's super young too. Every guy in their projected lineup is under 30, including Jose Ramirez, who's now 29. So still, right in his prime, and he's an absolute superstar. But beyond him, I mean, you got Franmil Reyes. Guy can obviously hit the ball a long way, but who else on this team can even do anything really?
I mean, just looking at it, my guess is that Ahmed Rosario is going to be third on the team in home runs, and that's not saying much.
He's not really known
Like,
for his power
not at
in
all.
any way.
Like,
No.
Fran Mill and Jose are both 30 home run guys. I'm pretty darn confident in that.
Yeah.
I think Bobby Bradley has pop,
Yeah, he definitely's got the pop, but he's
but
always struggled with the making contact with the ball thing.
and just kind of consistent play in general. They have him slotted at first. Excuse me. Or at least roster resource has Bobby Bradley slotted at first. Um, I don't know if he'll be first base or if they're going to try and put him in the outfield or what. Because outfield is ultimately where Cleveland struggles. They always have, they always will. All their top prospects are middle infielders. I think
They're
it's
just
been,
resigned to that fate. They're just always going to be bad in the outfield.
yeah,
They can never get a good outfielder.
pretty much, yeah. They
Wow.
did go out and get Miles Straw, and I love that move. Miles for a center fielder, Miles Straw is fantastic. He's got speed. He's got great defense. He's not exactly a amazing hitter, but last year he hit 271. He was a 30 steal guy. If you get corner outfielders around him, then I would say that he's slam dunk, great piece to have out there.
Yeah, and the other thing with Straw that I'll mention, like he has no pop whatsoever. The fact that he hit 4 home runs is actually surprising to me. But the guy actually has some discipline, and he's able to take walks along with a pretty solid batting average. So he gets on base at a good clip, and then you mentioned the defense as well. So this is like a productive guy to have as a center fielder.
Yeah, he's very reminiscent to current Lorenzo Kane. And we were talking about him the other last week. Lorenzo Kane right now, the bat really isn't there. He's aging. Miles Straw is not aging. He's 27. He's still young. But you put him in the lineup because of his defense. Like he still has some contact skill. He's still got his discipline. He's great at defense, and that's why you keep a guy like Locane around. Miles Straw is exactly that, and in its prime, kind of Kevin Kiermaier, Lorenzo Kane, Harrison Bader pre-breakout,
Yeah,
and
I mean, he definitely fits that prototypical light hitting center fielder, good defense, and very fast mold.
yeah,
Uh, so, like, I'm wondering, does manager Terry Francona just say, we gotta make some runs happen here. We don't have much pop in this lineup. We're gonna turn everybody loose on the base paths. So they got Miles Straw, Ahmed Rosario, who can fly, as well as Andres Jimenez, who's maybe even faster than him. Jose Ramirez, always great base stealer, and then Bradley Zimmer, another guy that has insane speed.
yeah, I would. So the way that this team is structured right now actually reminds me a lot of, and Matthew's probably going to kill me for saying this, reminds me a lot of the 2021 Kansas City Royals. It does not have a lot of pop. It does not have a lot of star power, but it is fast. And you get these guys on base, you let them loose, and you're going to win more games than people think you will. Because I think that their speed is so elite that they can steal runs, they can play small ball, and they can win some games. Plus, you pair that with their pitching, and that's where they differentiate from the 21 Royals, is because you've got Shane Bieber, Cal Quantrill, Zach Plesac, Aaron Savali, Tristan McKenzie. All these guys are really, really high upside guys. Honestly, high floor guys too. Um,
More floor than upside, other than Bieber, I would say, and McKenzie. The other guys are just like I, I give a lot of credit to what Cleveland's done with these pitchers because these guys were kind of like non-prospecty guys, and Cleveland's turned them all into pretty solid major league pitchers. Um, and like that's been kind of their bread and butter over these last several years where they've been a really competitive team. It's been mostly because they're pitching, and then they've had better offenses than the one they have this year.
yeah, and they have another one in the pipe too. And Daniel Espino. He only pitched up to high A last year, but he's a really good young pitcher and could definitely fit um, that same mold that they've been playing with for years.
And there's one other guy actually I'll mention, Cody Morris. Guy made it to Triple A last year. I don't know a whole lot about him, but um, like his numbers at Triple A, absolutely absurd. Um, he only made 9 starts there, or 9 games, 8 starts, but he had a 172 ERA, uh, 12.76 Ks per nine. So this guy is he might be the next guy like before Espino to make to the majors, who slots into that rotation somehow.
Dang. Yeah, so I guess with this team though, like I love their rotation. They have some really really good pieces in the bullpen. Emmanuel Clase is, I think, an elite closer at this point, or he has the potential to be an elite closer. He is fantastic. Karinchak, if he can figure out how to pitch without spider tack, those two is a 1-2 punch, eighth, ninth inning. If they get a lead, I love that. I admittedly don't know as many of these other guys as I should, but they do have Anthony Gose, Sandlin, Logan Allen, Eli Morgan coming up for his rookie season this year, um, or his full rookie season. Um,
You know why Anthony Gose is notable, right?
I do not remember. No.
He is the converted outfielder. He he was a big leaguer as an outfielder. He didn't have too much success. He's been in the minor leagues for the last like 3 or 4 years, becoming a pitcher, and he's been able to get it up to like 100 miles per hour.
He pulled the anti-Ankiel.
Yeah,
Dang.
yeah.
The
So
reverse Ankiel. That sounds better.
I'm gonna be like I'm gonna have my eye on Ghost, and I really want to see how he does because this guy's got an elite arm, and with Cleveland's infrastructure of pitching, like I don't know, man, this guy could be amazing.
Yeah. Um. So I want to ask you one question about um, back about the actual starting lineup. So we said they don't really have a whole lot of pop outside of Jose Franmil, maybe Bobby Bradley.
Maybe Bradley Zimmer as well.
They have one prospect who has been a top 100 prospect for years. He's kind of just fallen out of the top 100. He had kind of a rough year last year. But can Nolan Jones be that power piece that they can add to this lineup and potentially kind of change the script from where we're sitting here saying it's all speed, no pop, and turn this into like a really good lineup?
Uh, his addition, I'm not sure is gonna like incredibly vault them into being like a really good lineup. But from what I heard, he did not have a great AAA season last year. And did he have an injury as well? He might have had an injury.
I think
Not
so
really
because he
sure.
only played 99 games.
Okay, so he may have been injured, so that may have been part of the story there. But if he can show that he's, improved himself at the beginning of the AAA season, he's gonna like have an opportunity to make an impact with the big league club because of how uncertain some of these other spots are on in the outfield, especially.
Yeah, and because roster resources slotting in Stephen Kwan here as the starting left fielder, which I don't really understand that one. Stephen Kwan is, according to the new Fangraphs top 100 rankings that came out, I think today or maybe yesterday, the 57 overall prospect. Um, Good prospect, but he's all contact. He's like an 80 grade contact guy with like a 20 grade power. Um, and I haven't really looked at his speed. Is he fast? He
I
is
don't think
fast.
so. Is he?
60 speed.
Yeah, didn't do too much running in the minors, I don't think. But
Yeah. But, well, let's see. So he stole 11 bases in 2019, but other
yeah,
than that, he's really not stolen that much. Six last year across two levels. Um, but he's a 24-year-old outfielder that they've got that is going to be up this year at some point. Uh, but Nolan Jones does have power, whereas Kwan does not. So if he can figure it out, I do think that would significantly improve the lineup. But, all right. And then the last question here is the kind of big piece from last year that I thought was potentially going to take that one of those power roles from or in this lineup was Josh Naylor. Um, he got hurt last year, had ankle surgery. Do we know when he's coming back?
if only we had spring training updates to answer that question. But I
Right?
don't know. I know it was a very nasty ankle injury, so I wouldn't expect him to be with the team right away, but probably at some point this season.
Yeah. So, all right, that's all I've got on Cleveland. Do you got anything else?
Uh, I'm sorry, Cleveland fans. Like this team is really not that exciting to me. I like Shane Bieber.
Doesn't have an exciting name. Doesn't have an exciting lineup.
Yeah, I love Jose Ramirez and I love Shane Bieber, but that's about it.
Yep, pretty much. Franmil. We
Yeah.
love Franmil. Um, all right. Let's move to a different team. Let's go all the way down to Minnesota. What do you think of the Minnesota Twins?
Yeah. So the Twins are an interesting squad because a lot of people had them pegged as the best team in the Central or near the best team in the Central going into last season. And then they really just kind of like fell on their faces and nothing really worked out, had a bunch of injuries. Pitching was pretty bad. Just overall underperformance. And coming into this season, there's kind of been this idea. It's kind of like become almost I don't know the word for it, but like everyone believes that this Twins lineup is going to rebound in a big way. But why do we believe that? I want to ask that question to you.
So define in a big way, because I think this team is going to rebound. I don't know that they're going to rebound
Yeah,
from last year and become elite.
yeah. Somehow, this team was supposed to have like a top 10 type offense, and I don't know if they can really be that.
So, and
I
I,
think they'll
I
be
think
more average.
I think that expectation comes from the fact that you have Byron Buxton, who, when he's on the field, is a Mike Trout level player. Really, I guess if you think about it, at this point, he's Mike Trout. They're on the field about the same amount. Donaldson, bringer of rain,
Great
36 years
player
old, but the dude still mashes.
when he's
Mitch,
on the field.
yep. Miguel Sano has massive amounts of power in that body. Um, and this is the squad that in 2019
2019, they
was
set all sorts of records with
yeah,
the home runs,
the
and they
the
were
Bomba
crazy.
squad with Nelson Cruz, who is not there, but they set a record. Or I don't even know if they had it by the end of the year though, because the Yankees with
They
the
set the record, and then it got overtaken by the Yankees later
in
on.
the same season, the
Yeah.
Baby Bombers versus the but yeah, it was the Baby Bombers and the Bomba squad, right?
Sure. I don't know.
You don't remember the nicknames of these things? Come on,
No,
dude.
that's your thing.
That's accurate. Um, and then Mitch Garver, as far as catchers are concerned, power hitting catcher. He hit 13 bombs last year. And I think that's what people are looking at this lineup expecting is just massive amounts of power. And
Yeah.
so, and last year they still had quite a bit. 19 home runs from Buxton, 33 from Jorge Polanco, 26 from Donaldson, 19 from Kepler, 13 from Garver, 30 from Sano. Their young guys in Kirilloff and Larnick hit 8 and 7. Um, and those guys are guys to watch out that for a breakout season this year. Like they could both be really, really good.
Yeah,
But
Kepler's the one that I feel like this guy has never really been that great. Like he has a huge issue against left-handed pitching, and then going back to 2019, the thing that we always mention about 2019 is it was the year of the juiced ball. Kepler hit 36 homers that year. The rest of his career, he's never hit more than 20. So to think that that 36 homer guy is coming back is, I think, wrong.
yeah, I would agree with you. But in a 20 home run guy, we're not going to argue with that. That's a solid output, but
It's solid, but
it's
it,
definitely not like the elite guy that people think he is.
yeah, yeah. So that's where I'm pushing back on the this Twins lineup being like top tier or anything. I think it's an okay lineup. It's a fine lineup.
Where I personally see them rebounding next year is in more of the contact and batting average. I think they'll get some more guys on base. I mean, the fact that they only had like four guys in the starting lineup over 250.
Yeah, so if Buxton plays, he's probably going to hit very well, like we talked about. I really like Jorge Polanco as a player.
Luis
He was one of
Arias
the,
is a high contact
yeah,
guy as well.
yeah, he will definitely hit for average for sure. Not sure if he can do anything more than that, but it's definitely a useful thing to have on a team. Um, and then yeah, like you said, I like Kirilloff and Larnock too. They both will have their opportunities here to take the next step because they were really good in the minors. And Kirilloff had the wrist injury last year, so he never got to get that extended run of time.
And we saw what happened with Jonathan India when he came back from a wrist injury, healed up.
Yep, absolutely.
So, which hopefully that is the same thing for Ke'Bryan Hayes.
Yeah,
So,
wrist injuries, man, that's scary stuff.
yeah, it
Can
saps out
really,
all your power.
yeah,
It's uncomfortable. So, for me, once I get past the starting lineup, which I think is going to be better than last year, then I start to get really concerned about this team. Like, the bench is not great at all. I mean, maybe I'm underselling Brent Rooker and Nick Gordon.
I kind of like these. I kind of like these guys though individually.
Yeah, Nick Gordon has a lot of speed coming off the bench,
Yeah, he does.
and
Um,
Ryan Jeffers is a guy that platoons with Mitch Garver. Yeah, I'm cool with
he's
that.
a fine backup catcher. He's got a ton of power.
Yeah, he hit 14 home runs last year.
Yeah,
He has no average,
this
but
is probably the biggest power like catcher duo in the league, I'd say. And then Miranda, he was kind of a no name going into last season, and he had a crazy season over either 2 or 3 levels of the minors where he hit like 30 combined homers. The one thing with him is they don't really know what position he can play. They've tried him at like first, second, and third, but they're not exactly sure where he fits. But I think he's gonna get some time this year with the team.
yeah. And is he a DH candidate? Or do you move Kirilloff to position, put him in the outfield, and have this Miranda guy DH?
Yeah, I think it's a possibility.
Yeah. So, so you definitely know more about their bench than I do, and you seem to not hate it. I
It's an
think
okay bench, I think.
I think I know how we both feel about the rotation.
Yikes! Wow, Dylan Bundy, man, he's penciled in here on roster resource. Not that everything that they say is correct, but he's the number one starter.
And honestly, looking at their rotation, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, you can't really argue with it, but that
Like
is not ideal.
their rotation's young. I'll throw that out there. It could be really good. I I
Yeah,
don't
we'll
I
talk about
don't
Ober and Ryan in a second here, but just like Bundy, 6.06 ERA in 19 starts with the Angels last year. He had a great 2020 with the Angels. Looks like he was kind of reviving his career coming out of Baltimore, and then he just completely regressed and had probably his worst like season of his career last year. So I don't think he's as bad as he was last year, but he's not what you want as one of your like best pitchers. You'd like Dylan Bundy to be your number 4 or 5.
yeah. Yeah. But then I don't really know what else to say to
Yeah,
that.
you're just speechless.
I I was so happy for him when he had that breakout 2020,
Yeah, that was cool.
and I I wasn't sure if it was gonna stick or not. Like it kind of felt like what I am worried is gonna happen with Robbie Ray. Like obviously Robbie Ray was better before the breakout season than Dylan Bundy was, but like that's the same feeling that I have. And
Yeah,
oh,
little unsure about it. Yeah, for sure.
yeah. But then we
Uh,
move on and we start getting to these really young guys. Their next up is Bailey Ober, and Bailey Ober um, was pretty solid last year in his rookie season. He started
yeah,
20 games, only pitched 92 innings, so he did not go deep at all. I don't know if that was intentional or what, but like that's an average of what, a little over 4 innings a game, maybe.
yeah. I'm not
But
sure the reason really behind that, but he also pitched like, well, he didn't really pitch that much in AAA either. So may have just been taking it easy with him, because he didn't pitch at all in 2020. So that may have been part of the reason. They're just keeping him pretty short.
yeah. But he pitched a 4.19 ERA, 4.56 FIP, um, in uh, in the majors there, with a 25% K rate and a 5% walk rate. So he wasn't walking a ton of guys.
Yeah, and
Um,
I'll mention this about Ober. Like when he was in the minor leagues, that was his thing. He did not walk batters. 2.7%, 3.1%, 2.8%, 3.4%, 2.4%. So like this guy's got great control. Like he throws a ton of strikes. He's also 6'9". So
yeah.
that's quite the angle.
Well, and his strikeout rate was actually the lowest it had ever been, like last year when he made it to the majors. So you could realistically expect that to come up this year as he gets more comfortable, pitches a little bit more, and kind of grows into that major league role. Um, so like,
There's something there.
yeah, there's
For
something there. I definitely wouldn't be mad. It worries me that he's penciled in as their number two, because like
for sure.
92 innings is not a very big sample size, and I mean, we were talking about Rick Ankiel a little while ago, vaguely or briefly. Um, that's about what he pitched, and then he had the yips and never really pitched again. So like, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket there. So tell me about Joe Ryan. I don't know anything about him.
Okay, so Joe Ryan, he's a guy that was just really he's just been successful really everywhere he's pitched in the minor leagues. And he's done it through strikeouts and, not walking people. So he's kind of similar to Ober in that fashion. The thing about Ryan is that he throws a ton of fastballs. Like he's got this amazing fastball. It's not just the velocity on it. It's actually not a very fast pitch. It's like it averaged 91.3 in the majors last year, but for whatever reason, this fastball, like I don't know if it's a spin rate or what it is, but it's a very tough pitch for players to figure out. But with major leaguers, I'm not sure that's gonna really hold up the same as it did in the minors. But you know, I think he could be a solid pitcher, middle of the rotation kind of guy.
All right. So yeah, I don't know much about him, so I can't really speak to him much. But then we get to the bottom of their rotation. We got Randy Dobneck and Lewis Thorpe. And again, I don't think they're terrible pitchers by any means. Dobnak did not have a good season last year. 6 starts, 14 appearances, pitched 50 innings. He had a 7.64 ERA, um, which is way over his FIP, which was 5.7, but that's still not good. His actuals way over his expecteds, but they still weren't good. And he just, I don't know. He didn't strike out anybody. He didn't walk anybody either. Like that's kind of just his game. He doesn't strike people out, but he doesn't walk them. He's a pitch to contact guy, and the defense behind him is really not that great. Like Luis Arias is really good, Polanco's really good, and
Buxton's great.
but
Yeah.
Buxton was only on the field about half the year, so that leaves the two middle infielders as basically the only defense behind you.
Yeah.
And a pitch to
And
contact guy
that's
needs
a
more
good
than
point
just
about like this rotation in general. There's not a whole lot of strikeout potential really. Like Ryan's got it a little bit. Ober maybe got a little bit, but they're not huge strikeout guys. They're gonna need to rely on that defense. And I don't know if they have it.
yeah. I don't think they do, but we'll see. Maybe they'll surprise me. Maybe Kirilloff and Larnick come up and break out, and they're pretty solid defensively, and maybe they end up playing a lot better than we expect.
Yeah.
Which brings us to our last guy, in Lewis Thorpe, who pitched a total of 15 innings in the majors last year after pitching only uh, 17 innings in AAA and 5 innings in the complex league. He pitched to about a 470 in those 15 innings. Um, he walked more guys than he struck out. I just I would be really worried to have him out there in the rotation right now, just with this not pitching very much. I'm fairly certain he was coming off an injury based on the fact that he played in the complex league. Um, after
Yeah, I'm gonna be
playing,
honest. Like Lewis Thorpe has been completely off my radar. Like I don't know one thing about this guy, other than apparently he's Australian and he doesn't throw very hard. Not that that's everything, but I don't think this guy's got much of a future in the big leagues.
yeah, and their bullpen kind of tells the same story. I mean, Taylor Rogers was pretty solid last year, if I remember right.
He's really good. Yeah,
Um, but outside of him, do they really have
they got some
um,
interesting guys in
Tyler
Jorge
Duffy? Yeah, I guess.
Alcala. He's pretty good. Um, yeah, I think their bullpen's like got some good names in it.
Maybe it
They're
just
going to be
maybe
using
it
them a
just
lot.
felt like it wasn't that good because of the underperformance of the offense and the starting rotation last year.
Yeah, that
So
can definitely happen.
yeah, so we'll see how this team pays off, but I definitely think they'll be better than last year. But there are a lot of things that make me uneasy about just looking at this lineup. I definitely putting them next to a team like Chicago. I don't think that they're going to be able to make a run at the division. But all right, any closing comments on Minnesota?
Um, Not really.
All right, let's go to one that I think we're going to have a lot of fun talking about: the Detroit Tigers. So the Tigers went out and picked up both Eduardo Rodriguez and Javi Baez, and those are huge moves for this team that is really, really young, has a lot of really good prospects, and their window to compete is basically just starting now. They've recently, in the last couple of years, brought up Casey Mize, Tarek Skubal, Matt Manning. Um, there's another one, isn't there?
Those are the main three, I think,
Yeah,
pitchers.
uh, for their starting rotation, and those three guys have a ton of potential. Um, I think they were all top 100 prospects for like 2 years or so before they came up, and they're starting to figure it out in the big leagues. Um, and then you bring in Eduardo Rodriguez, Javi Baez, and that takes a team that had a really bad lineup but a decent rotation, and starts to make it look a little bit more like a competitive lineup or a
Yeah,
competitive team. So
yeah. The lineup's pretty interesting because it's a interesting mix of like veterans and then really young players that are just starting to get into it. And then we haven't even mentioned the couple prospects that will be coming very shortly.
yeah,
Uh, but in the lineup that we'll probably see on opening day, you've got Akil Badu, who was the Rule 5 sensation from last year, and then followed up by Robbie Grossman, who had a great season in his first year in Detroit, playing full time. Baez, Jamer Candelario, who I think is a pretty underrated third baseman around the league. Solid player. Jonathan Scope, just doing Jonathan Scope things as he does every year. Miggy, who he's
has
going to be in the lineup.
he's going to be the 2023 MVP to get those two option years.
Yeah, exactly. And new addition, Tucker Barnhart. And then the outfield is a little bit uncertain with Victor Reyes, Willie Castro, Derek Hill,
Eric
Harold
Haas.
Castro. Yeah,
Hey,
a lot of guys will mix in that outfield.
yeah, and Detroit really liked Eric Haas last year. They played him a lot in the outfield, which kind of
Yep.
surprised me. I figured he would come up and take over Grayson Griner or uh, Jake Rogers' spot at catcher. Wait, was Jake Rogers there last year, or was he traded the year before?
Yeah, yeah, he was there.
Yeah,
He got injured late in the season though.
right. But yeah, I really thought that was going to be where Eric Haas broke into this lineup last year, but instead it was actually in the outfield where he hit 22 home runs and
Yeah.
381 plate appearances. The dude has a lot of pop. Not a big average guy, but then again, he's a catcher, so you wouldn't really expect it. But so putting him with Tucker Barnhart, who's a really good defensive veteran, when he gave up switch hitting, he started hitting better. Um, uh, he's one of my personal favorite players that was an NL Central team not named the Cardinals. Um, he talked to me about my Stan Musial jersey one time. It was great. Um, but yeah, I really think they've got some interesting stuff going on here. And then you've got the Castros and Derek Hill and Victor Reyes. And then
You
we've
know, I'd
also
love to
got
see this. I love to see them add a left-handed hitting outfielder. It doesn't even have to be like a Schwarber or anything. It could be like Eddie Rosario. It could be like Jock Peterson or something. I think that would be like a big help to the lineup in general.
yeah, that'd be a big move, I think. Just trying to help get some of these light hitting outfielders, not necessarily off the roster because that just sounds like I'm hoping someone loses their job, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, it just helps
Help
the
boost their
depths.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
And they're pretty right-handed heavy, so I think one more lefty in there would be nice to have.
Now they do have a lefty power hitter coming up. He will probably not be there opening day, but they've got some mega prospects. The number 5 and 6 prospect in baseball are both going to be playing on this Detroit Tigers team this year. In Spencer Torkelson at first base, but Riley Green, left-handed hitter. He hit 24 home runs last year in 124 games across both Double and Triple A. He hits for about 300. He's good at. He's a solid defensive player. Riley Green is gonna be really good, and I think he's kind of exactly what they need. Now, I would still go out and get a veteran guy for depth, and I think that would be huge for them. But if they don't go get a left-handed power guy, they got one coming up.
Yeah,
So
and he's more than just a power guy. Like he's got the speed, he's got the defense. This guy could be, one of the best players in the league in a few years.
he could very easily be one of these guys that we sit here and look at and go, he is a 5-tool guy.
Yep. You love
He's
to throw that around, right? That 5-tool thing.
see, I'm don't think he will be because he's not really all that fast.
What?
I
I thought he
mean,
stole a bunch of bases in the minors.
no,
Like
not really.
he's really?
He stole 16 bases last year, so
Yeah,
there's that. But he only
I
stole
believe
five
he's
in
only been.
he only stole 5 in 2019.
Yeah.
But traditional speed, sprint speed, he's not that fast.
Wait, we have sprint speed for him?
Uh, well, I thought that was how they graded out speed grades. I thought that was all
Oh, I
based
don't
on
think
sprint speed.
so.
Is that
No,
not?
they're scouting grades. They're not based on like traditional numbers. I don't think.
No. Well, they think that he's a 40. So
I thought he's fast, but I thought he'd been caught like one time in his career in the minors as a stolen base threat.
he has been, yeah, he was caught one time at Double A last year, and he stole
That's
12
pretty
bases.
good.
All right, 5-tool guy. You heard it here first. Um, but then they've got Spencer Torkelson coming up as well. Left-handed first base, third base. Left-handed? Right-handed.
He's right-handed.
He's right-handed, right.
Yeah.
I said left-handed, saw third base, and went, something doesn't make sense here.
You can be a left-handed hitter as a third baseman.
That's true. That's true. But Torque played in 3 levels in the minors last year. He hit 30 home runs in 121 games, only struck out 20% of the time, walked 13% of the time. He was the number 1 overall pick in 2020? No.
Was it 2019 maybe?
Oh no, he wasn't number 1 because he was the.
He was number 1.
Oh yeah, because it was him and
20,
Bobby
20.
Witt.
It was 20.
Yeah, because it was
No,
him and Bobby Witt
Witt.
back to
No,
back.
Bobby Witt was 19.
He was the 19th overall pick.
No, he was in 19.
Oh.
Because Bobby Witt played in the minor leagues in 2019. There were no minor leagues in 2020, so Torque never got the chance to play.
What is going on in my brain?
You tell me, but
okay, so
yeah,
Bobby Witt was after Adley then.
Correct. Yes.
Oh my goodness, I don't know what's happening in my brain.
Torkelson, though, he was supposed to be one of the most ready hitters, and it kind of shows in what the Tigers thought of him by promoting him to to play at 3 different levels over one season.
Yeah,
If Riley Green's not ready, like Torkelson's probably going to be ready on opening day.
Yeah, and roster resource 100% thinks that he's going to be ready at opening day. But yeah, he played 30 games at high A, 50 at double A, and 40 at triple A, and his numbers across the 3 were pretty much identical. The only thing that he struggled with a little bit when he got to AAA was contact.
He
But
just got BABIP though.
oh yeah, that's true. I didn't even see that.
Yeah, so I'm not worried about that at all. This
But
guy has like basically he doesn't have a strikeout problem. He's very patient and he's got crazy power. I mean, there's nothing not to like about this guy. The one thing I'm wondering is if they make him a first baseman or a third baseman. I feel like they should just make it simple for him, make him a first baseman. Don't put too much on his plate and try to switch him over to
I,
third.
I think so too. He was drafted as a third baseman, but a lot of people were surprised that he was drafted as a third baseman. They thought he would be drafted as a first baseman because that's I can't remember which position he played in college.
He
Was he a
played
third?
first. He
He,
he never played third at all.
okay, yeah. So honestly, they should put him at first, and really that's where their hole is anyway. Like they've got Jamer at third. Miggy is not. I mean, it's first base, but you still shouldn't put Miggy out there probably.
Not every day at least.
Yeah. So give Miggy the DH role. Put Torque in at first. You can switch him out occasionally and just put Torque in at DH, but I wouldn't even mess with him at third base. So, and then the last prospect that they've got coming up, he finished at Double A last year, but they do actually have another catching prospect coming up in Dylan Dingler, who his prospect grades are actually 40 hit, 45 power, 45 speed, 50 defense, 50 future as a catcher. It's pretty solid prospect grades for a catcher to have 40 hit, 45 power. And he was a really high draft pick. He's kind of gone through the minors pretty quickly so far. And he's going to be the next guy up from their system, I think. It's just a matter of if he comes up at the end of this year or if they wait until the beginning of 2023 for him. So, and his bat is lagging in his development so far. So he's been moving up as a defensive catcher, which they'll definitely need to hold him back until he can start to find his bat a little bit before they advance him again. I would expect. So, um, see, anything else you want to talk about on Detroit? We haven't really talked about their bullpen, but I don't
Yeah, I
know.
just wanted to say something about their starting pitchers actually. So Matt Manning really struggled in his first taste of the big leagues. Casey Mize, I feel like the shine has come off this guy because his surface level numbers look decent, like 371 ERA, but the strikeouts they were not there. Not really sure like what happened with Casey Mize, but it's something to do with his um like his pitch mix. In college he had the split finger pitch that was like that amazing pitch that he like it was so good that was the big reason that he got drafted number 1 and he had like 5 pitches. But he's completely changed his pitch mix since then and I'm not sure what the Tigers are doing to him, but he's clearly got the potential to be a lot better than he's shown. So I'm hoping they can unlock that in him this year.
Yeah, and Tarek Skubal has been kind of a little bit the opposite, where his strikeouts have been there. He's pitched really well, but his ERA is not showing.
Yeah, and I really like him. I think he's on the right trajectory to have a really nice breakout season.
Yeah. Um, all right. Anything else on the Tigers, or shall we move to our final team in the Kansas City Royals?
Let's go Royals.
All right. I'm just going to read you the 9 guys in the starting lineup, and then you tell me your thoughts. How about that?
All right, go.
Whit Merrifield, Nicky Lopez, Salvador Perez, Andrew Benintendi, Bobby Witt Jr., Adalberto Mondesi, Hunter Dozier, Kyle Isbell, Michael Anthony Taylor. I don't know what his middle name is. I assume it's Anthony.
Yeah. So Royals lineup very like typical Royals where they are prioritizing speed with Merrifield, Mondesi, and Nicky Lopez in there, as well as like Benintendi, who's got moderate to above average speed.
Well, Kyle Isbell too, isn't he?
Yeah, I think so. So they like these speedy guys, kind of like Cleveland's lineup looks right now. Salvador Perez, obviously coming off his historic catcher power season where he hit like 48 home runs, which is unlikely to happen again. But he's still obviously a great hitter. Uh, I don't know. I don't know what I think of this lineup right now. I think it's just kind of meh.
Yeah, I kind of struggle with their outfield. Because I guess it depends where you slot Witt in defensively. If you put him in the outfield or the infield, if you put him at his natural second base, I kind of hate their outfield. And I think last year I was expecting Benintendi to rebound and have a good season, and that just didn't happen. And I'm not
He was
predicting
okay.
that again.
He was all
Yeah,
right.
but it wasn't what he was in his first couple
Right.
years in Boston.
That's true.
And that's kind of what I was expecting. Um, Michael A. Taylor, kind of the same thing. He's a prototypical center fielder. And then Kyle Isbell, he's
He's
fast.
he's unproven. Like he's not really played that much.
Yeah. And so like I don't have much confidence in their outfield. Their infield, on the other hand, I actually do have quite a bit of confidence in. Maybe minus their first baseman. Um, but Bobby Witt Jr. is going to be a stud in the majors, and I 100% think he's on the opening day roster this year. I don't think that they're gonna mess around and leave him down. He raked last year, and they just never called him up because it didn't make any sense. They sucked.
They're just out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, but he 100% would have been the best player on their team last year if he had played.
Do you
Um,
know anything about Bobby Witt's defense and where he will slot in defensively for the Royals? Because Nicky Lopez held down shortstop this past year, and he was great. He was amazing defensively.
so Bobby Witt is an above average defender. I wouldn't say he's elite. He's not really, I think, shown elite skill at short in the outfield. As far as prospect grade, he's 40 current, 50 future, so he could get better. But then again, I don't really know too much about how they come up with prospect grades. So I don't want to put too much stock in that. It's more his bat that's the reason that he would have been the best player in the team. So I think they're planning on slotting him at probably third. Um, let me see if he's played. So yeah, so he played 18 games at third base last year and 102 at short. So and he did not make a single error at third base, and he made 8 at short. So, granted, it's pretty small sample sizes on his third base there.
It's also errors you're talking about
It's
here.
also errors. There's not really a whole lot of fielding stats to go on here, though. Um,
So, I mean, he's obviously more valuable, I think, as a shortstop. And no offense to Nicky Lopez, I know he's got his fans out there, but I feel like you just make Witt the shortstop and do something else with Nicky Lopez, who's not a not a not a real long term solution. I don't think
yeah, I could see that. And can Nicky play third?
Nicky can play second, maybe,
Well, then what do
or
you
maybe he can play third.
and then you put Whit Merrifield out
Mondesi,
in right field, Mondesi at
yeah,
third,
you can do
Merrifield in
that.
right,
And the other
Nicky
thing that
in
we haven't even mentioned is Mondesi when he actually plays, when he's on the field, he's an excellent defender as well.
yeah, and which is why I was saying like I love this infield. I think defensively it's great. It is so fast. It is so fast. Um, like we talk about how fast Nicky Lopez and Mondesi are and Whit Merrifield. Then we talk about how good of a hitter Bobby Witt Jr. is. But Bobby Witt last year in double and triple A stole 29 bases. And he stole 9 in 2019 at rookie ball. The dude is quick.
Yeah, he's another guy that's in the Riley Green category of like can basically do it all.
Yeah.
He can do everything.
Which explains why he's the number 2 overall prospect in baseball.
Yep,
I'm
for
kind of
sure.
surprised that he's not number 1,
What
but
is it, Rutschman? Isn't
it is
that?
Adley, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yep. I'd love to see Mondesi, stay healthy for an actual season. He's kind of like Buxton. If he's out there, I mean, he's not the best hitter. He's not like Buxton in that regard, but when he's out there, he just runs wild. When he
Oh,
played in the last month of the season, he stole like I don't know how many bases, like 15 bases or
he
something in the
stole
last month.
24 in the short season for 59
Yeah.
games. He stole 43 in 102 games in 2019.
Yeah, so if you give the guy a full season, like he could legitimately steal 60 bases.
And he's a 250 plus hitter. So like
Yeah.
he's gonna get on base a decent amount too. His OBP is usually around 300, which isn't insane, but I mean, hey, when you're that quick, freaking squeeze bunt, just get on base.
Yeah. Yeah.
But um,
Um prospects, other prospects for the Royals. So they've got a couple other guys I wanted to mention here. One of them is MJ Melendez, who's a catcher. What this guy did in the minors from 2019 to 2021, I don't know what he did, but he clearly made some serious improvements. So in 19 at high A, he hit 163, 260, 311. So that's like you would completely skip over this guy if you saw that line anywhere. That's a 67 WRC plus. In 2021, he played at Double A and Triple A, and he hit 41 home runs, which led all the major leagues, not just for catchers, but all positions. He had the most home runs in all the minor leagues. And he had OBPs of 372 and 413. Uh, he cut his strikeout rate from like near 40% at high A to like about 21%, taking a bunch of walks. Like he turned himself from a non prospect into like a legitimate power hitting catcher, probably going to be a major leaguer this year prospect.
that's also a plus defensive catcher.
Yeah. I mean, not
So
that Sal's job is in jeopardy, but if this guy's as good as he showed last year, he's going to find his way into that lineup.
yeah, and uh, honestly, the guy that I think is probably at the biggest risk of losing his job here is the one that I said I'm not a big fan of in Hunter Dozier. Like
Yeah, exactly.
his
The guy they signed to an extension for 4 years.
yeah, like Hunter Dozier last year in 543 at bats, hit 216 with 16 home runs, 285 OBP, 394 slug. And that's just not really cutting it as a major league first baseman these days, especially when you have prospects like Melendez and Bobby Witt coming up. You
And
find a
Nick
way to
Prado.
put Bobby Witt at short, Mondesi at third, Lopez at second until you get another good second baseman that displaces him. Whit Merrifield goes to either first base or the outfield. You try and put Sal at first occasionally. You get this guy in defensively and or DH someone, and I don't know. There's so many interesting things you could do with that lineup to get both power and speed. Like last year, I was buying in on the Royals, and I think I was a year too early. I think I'm buying in on the Royals this year. They're not going to win the division, but I'm buying in.
We haven't even talked about the pitching yet.
Yeah, I guess maybe we should do that before I buy in. All right. So,
Yeah.
but pitching, they have a whole bunch of first round guys in their starting rotation. Guys like Brady Singer, Chris Bubich, um, who
Daniel
else was
Lynch, Jackson Kowar, Daniel
yeah,
Lynch.
those guys. So um, and then they also got Carlos Hernandez who pitched last year and was pretty solid.
He was better
Um,
than all the first rounders.
yeah. Uh, so Carlos Hernandez pitched 85 innings to 368 ERA, 408 FIP. He had an 11% walk rate last year, which was pretty high. But that's abnormal for his career so far. So I would expect him to bring that down. And I think Carlos Hernandez is going to be a pretty solid piece out of that rotation. So
Yeah, the rotation's interesting because it's like we've been hearing about these guys and how they're going to be supposed to be so great, and none of them has really hit at this point. And I've been very critical of the Royals like pitching development because it just doesn't seem like these guys are making much progress. And I feel like this is the make or break year for a lot of these guys. Not that like they'll be nothing if they don't pan out this year, but I feel like they gotta show some more progress than they have.
Yeah. Like Brady Singer has been the most successful out of the 4 first round guys, and he's not been that great.
No, last year was
His
pretty bad. Yeah,
2020 was decent. It was definitely a good start. 408 or a 406 ERA in 64 innings, um, about 23% K percent, 9% walk, and then he just kind of did the exact same thing again with a slightly worse ERA.
yeah.
The FIP was the same. Like his peripherals are all pretty much the same. The results just weren't there, but he hasn't taken that step forward. He pitched twice as many innings, so I guess we know where his floor is, I guess. But can he surpass that? Is the
I
question.
don't know. The fact that I'm way more bullish on Royals hitting prospects than the pitching prospects
Is
surprises me, or would have surprised 2 years ago me.
yeah. But, oh well. So what do you say we go ahead and power rank this division and then call it a night?
Yeah, let's do it.
All
I
right.
got the White Sox number one. How about
Yep.
that?
Same. And we didn't even talk about him tonight.
Yeah,
Um, okay, so number two, I'm going with Detroit personally.
I'm gonna go with Minnesota because I feel like they're gonna surprise us somehow with the pitching, like holding together a little bit better than we think. And they maybe they add a pitcher. Who knows?
I could see
But
that.
I could see Detroit as well.
Yeah, I really like Tarek Skubal, Eduardo Rodriguez. Um, I think Casey Mize is going to pitch better this year. I don't think he's going to pitch to the level that he was expected to when he was the number one prospect, or the Tigers number one, I guess. Um, but then I do really like what is happening in their lineup as well. So I think that's going to be a dangerous team. Number three for me is Minnesota. Um, for the same reasons you said, I just have more confidence in Detroit, basically. So
Yeah. Okay. So I'll say Detroit would be third, and then fourth, I'm gonna say Cleveland. Even though I really don't like their team that much, I just feel like their pitching staff gives them that floor that they can't be the worst team in the division.
yeah, I agree with you, and Kansas City just has too much that we're putting on prospects. Like I love the potential of that team. That team could be amazing all of a sudden. I don't know, but I'm going to temper expectations still while buying into that team. I would say right now in a power ranking, they're fifth.
Yeah, I feel like the Royals and the Tigers are similar, and they're sort of in similar spots in their rebuilds. It's just that the Royals are just worse. Like they just have worse players.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So, all right, cool. So, Chicago, you have Chicago, Minnesota, Detroit, Cleveland, Kansas City. I have Chicago, Detroit, Minnesota, Cleveland, Kansas City.
Yep.
All right, cool. So that is, I think, all we've got for tonight. So once again, if you enjoy this podcast or our baseball card videos or really any of our content, make sure to subscribe on our YouTube channel um, or on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else you can find podcasts to make sure you never miss a new episode. Or you can follow us here on Twitch and watch us record live on Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Getaway Day Pod, or join our Discord and let us know your thoughts on each episode or just throughout the week as you think about baseball, baseball cards, fantasy baseball, anything baseball related. Come in and chat with us. We'd love to hear from you. And I think that does it. So have a great rest of your day, and we will see you back here in 1 week.